At this year's E3 Expo in Los Angeles, California, Atlus brought the game we've all been dying to play. Sorta. It is true that Persona 5 did have a presence at E3 this year, but sadly, the game did not have a playable demo. But to make up for this, Atlus has graced us with the longest trailer we've ever had. And as always, we're going to be breaking it down to see what we can uncover. So let's get started. This trailer, while not as extravagant as previous promotional videos, still provides us with a good idea on how we will be spending our time in Persona 5. The gameplay trailer, titled Persona 5 Day to Night, starts out showing us how a typical day will play out, such as riding the train to school, listening in on the latest rumors, and using SNS to communicate with our teammates. After that segment, we get to see a new teacher and look at what our classroom questions may resemble. This is a rather large change from the previous entries, where we simply had text to read on screen, but it seems Persona 5's academic challenges may be a little bit more involved, as this question asks which line is connected, and you can choose either A, B, or neither. Also, some have speculated that these additional options at the bottom could indicate that we may be able to ask for help from one of our classmates if we don't know the answer to a question, which I feel would be, well, pretty sick. Next up, the school store making its return from Persona 3, and a better look at our world map. Along with that, we get a good tour of the town, and we get to see the office of a future social link, but more on her later. Because right now, we have a meeting with Ryuji to get some new guns, quite literally. Now this scene is interesting for many reasons. First up, we get to see our casual outfit along with Ryuji's, but even more important than fashion sense is the fact that the user interface has actually changed substantially. In this running segment, we can see that the camera has been drastically pushed back since PV3, and the red objective notifications seen in the other segments of the game have disappeared. This bright red alert is to tell us how many days we have left to steal our gym teacher's heart before we are kicked out of school, similar to the countdown used in Persona 4 to keep the player on track. And along with this, we no longer see the forecast display seen in the first promotional video, displaying the current weather and the date, which I find a bit odd, but maybe it's just not here for this segment. Moving on, our heroes arrive at their destination, and we literally have a transition of our main character's head. I don't know why I find this so funny, but I just thought I'd point that out if you didn't notice that. But this transition takes us to the weapon dealer of this game, and when we ask him if we can buy realistic fake weapons. More on him later though, because right now we have way more important things to discuss, and I will get to him later, such as a flower shop. Yeah, really exciting stuff to show at E3. Not really, but this flower shop is at least somewhat worth noting because that is a strikingly similar name to the flower shop in Persona 3, which is kind of odd, but this appears to be another location of one of our part-time jobs, which will be used to increase our stats in Persona 5. And speaking of stats, the new stat screen displayed here shows us that there is a new stat in the form of ingenuity for us to level up. The other 4 stats are knowledge, courage, charm, and thoughtfulness. The last of which is kind of like understanding from Persona 4, so I'm just gonna chalk it up to translation and say, yeah, that is pretty much understanding, but I could be wrong. But yes, the mechanic from Persona 3 and Persona 4 will be making a return, and it appears that this flower shop part-time job will increase our thoughtfulness. And speaking of stat boosts, I hear the Big Bang Burger is having one of those crazy food challenges. That's right, the Earth Burger looks to be a replacement for the Mega Beef Bowl from Persona 4, and will most likely function identically and offer us random stat increases. Yes, now a hamburger can give us more ingenuity. Persona logic, I guess. I don't really get it, but if this eating segment did not function identically to Aya's Diner in P4, I would be honestly incredibly surprised. But next up, we see the movie Tank Top Billionaire with our cat. Don't know how we snuck her in there, and hit up the local 7-Eleven ripoff 777 and get told from Morgana that we apparently can't handle this many customers at once. So pretty safe to assume this will be another judge of our character's competence. But there is also a place for us to study, which will naturally increase intelligence, and a cafe where we order a coffee, and somehow that makes us more courageous. Okay, but enough of all that boring social growth bullcrap. I want to see the nitty and gritty, and we get right into that. That's right, after school it's back to the palace, and this time we have a ton of different stuff going on. First up, the main character is seen using the app on his phone in this segment to transport himself to the palace. We also get to see the third eye effect. This is an optional mode in Persona 5 that will display the locations of treasure chests and also hints on how to solve various puzzles inside of the dungeon. It also displays this gauge that we have seen in previous trailers, depicting the dungeon boss and also a percentage. Now it appears that the more this percentage goes up, stronger shadows will spawn up to 100%, so it's in our character's best interest to avoid being seen, or else risk battling these extremely powerful shadows that will spawn. Honestly, a nice mechanic, and it appears that based on some of the gameplay we've seen here, the stealth isn't really that difficult, so if you're not that great at stealth games like Metal Gear, you shouldn't have to worry. Just be a little bit mindful on how you plan out battles in the palace. But speaking of battles, we also get to see how they will function a little bit better in P5. And it turns out I was 100% wrong, and the one more mechanic that the franchise has been known for is still back in the game, along with the Baton Pass feature. But hold up! That ain't all! Now, when all enemies are knocked down, you can choose to do an all-out attack or something else. More on that later, but for right now, it has been confirmed that the special attack for the characters will activate depending on who knocked down the majority of the enemies in battle. I personally thought this would be something unique to Haru, but it turns out each character will have their own unique all-out attack ending, which they all look amazing, man. Good job whoever made this, but the battle also has another point of interest, and that is our Persona status screen that is displayed at the end of this battle. We now know the elemental affinity for Arsene, and that is death. That's right, on this stat screen we can see his initial spell will be Iha from Persona 1. Honestly, who knows what this means for Arsene? All this time, I thought he would be a fire-based Persona and have a lot of Agi skills, but having death as an element is honestly a huge surprise. So unlike the instant death Muto skills from Persona 1 onward, Iha, Beha, and Mahea, I really hope I'm saying those right, acted sort of like a damage over time spell. And based on this trailer, it seems just like raw damage, so I don't really know what's going on here, but I'm totally down for this, and hopefully not every boss in the game will just completely nullify darkness. But one last thing to note, though, is the absence of the Persona artwork being on this screen. Instead, we are given the 3D model of the Persona. So does this mean we won't be seeing the return of the Kazuma Kaneko artwork, or not? It's still hard to say, but I hope it comes back in some form for the older demons, but the fact they aren't displaying the artwork for Arsene here does make me question if it'll be coming back or not. Sure, it's not a deal breaker, but honestly, I'm gonna miss Mr. Toilet Guy. He looks so cool. This art, anyways, even more awesome somehow than knowing the elemental affinity of our initial Persona, we got Demon Negotiation. Yes, it's back, boys. If you can't even call it negotiation, though, this is honestly more like extortion, because when we knock down all of these Silkies shown in the trailer, the party has them almost like in a firing squad position, and you can either demand money, items, or for them to join your party. Wow, this is amazing. As a humongous mainline Shin Megami Tensei fan, I honestly don't even know how to comprehend this. Demon Negotiation has always been such a great part of the franchise, and it was sadly absent in Persona 3 and 4, which honestly made getting new Personas kind of lackluster. Sure, Shuffle Time is exciting in its own. I mean, in Persona 3 you can just kind of get used to the minigame and get what card you want every single time, and likewise with Persona 4, but this is honestly amazing. I don't even know how to react to this. It's good. Trust me. Now, some people have complained that in previous games, Demon Negotiation just is seemingly random, and I do have to agree that sometimes it does get a little bit odd, but I'm confident that Atlus this time around are doing something a bit different to make it a little more engaging, but we'll have to see when we get the game ourselves. Right after that, though, we get a better look at how our fake guns will work in battle. Now, it appears that per each battle, we will have a finite amount of ammunition to use, and we use as many bullets as we want, and it won't end the turn, unless the shot is resisted or blocked. Seen here where Anne goes to shoot the Barith, and it's resisted, so her turn ends. Now, this is a very different concept to what gun attacks have been used before in SMT games, and I honestly welcome it. It'll be nice to have a sort of filler attack to use once in a while, and the idea that some weapons have more damage but less ammo and vice versa makes each character have a bit to set them apart from each other, which I really like. But sadly, that's all we get to see of our adventure inside the palace. It's cut a bit short, but as we are exiting, we do get to see one of the Velvet Jailers waiting outside for us, presumably to take us to the Velvet Room. Ooh, hopefully we get to see some of that soon, but our day sadly comes to an end. It's nighttime. We gotta go home to Café Le Blanc and see our third cooperation member and go to our room to do some pull-ups. Also, there's already like a hot spring-esque scene where Yusuke complains the water is like too hot, which is a slight nod to his persona, Goemon, dying from boiling water. And yeah, then the trailer just ends. Bummer. But the news keeps going. So right after that, at the booth at E3, we heard the first ever lines from the North American dub for Persona 5 in the form of Morgana being voiced by Cassandra Lee Morris, who you may recognize from Devil Survivor 2 Record Breakers, Irie, and Akia from the Persona 4 anime. Here's a short clip. Also, please don't sue me.
I am Morgana, the backbone of the Phantom Thieves, who are making headlines overseas. I came all the way here to leak some new Persona 5 information to you guys. Huh? You haven't heard of me? Or even know what Persona 5 is? Very well, let me enlighten you, my dear attendee. Don't worry, it's nowhere near as complex as getting past a state-of-the-art security system. Persona 5 is the latest iteration of the award-winning JRPG series that tells the tale of teenagers confronting their struggles. Whoa, it's not just some run-of-the-mill young adult fiction. It's a complex tale based on Jungian psychology.
But enough of voice actress crushes. We now have a name for our final party member, who appears to be kinda similar to Naruto in the sense that Akechi Goro, shown here, is a detective investigating the Phantom Thieves, but is also probably gonna be a party member, so that's kinda weird. Also, his name is almost identical to a detective in a Japanese novel, so there's like a lot of detective crap going on with him, and that's really all we gotta go off of him. We still don't know his persona at all, which leads me to believe he will be the game's final party member and awaken his potential towards the end of the game. That's great and all, but I'm going to try and keep speculation down to a minimum for this video and save that for a later one. So let's get to the final points of this presentation and discuss the 3 bonus trailers shown off on Atlus's Japanese YouTube page. These 3 trailers show us some of the cooperation characters we'll be able to speak to in Persona 5. So starting off strong, we have the owner of the military shop, Untouchables, and our rep for the Hanged Man Arcana. Give it up for Munhisa Iwa, who is a pretty sketchy dude, to say the least, and all we know about him is that, well, he has a fetish for lizards, kinda weird, and a tattoo, which is not a common thing in Japan. He also wants our main character to do a job for him, whatever that means. How will he reflect the Hanged Man Arcana? It's a little bit tough to say early on since he doesn't really have a lot of dialogue, but it's kind of neat that a shopkeeper is a social link in this game. I gotta stop calling them social links or cooperation. Whatever, moving on to the next character, we have the new love of my life, Move Over Margaret, because this new character is absolutely banging. Get it? Because she has bangs? Okay, that was terrible. Tai Takami of the Death Arcana is a mysterious character because she doesn't really say much or do anything. We don't know crap about her, just like the other guy. We have next to no idea what her correlation to the main character even is, as in this scene, basically all she's talking about is that we got knocked out from drinking something, and that's kind of it. Such a tease, man. I'm so interested in this character, and I just want to know why she's the Death Arcana, and she's probably a hospital worker or something. And that's really, really cool. But what are you gonna do? We just gotta wait for more details. Last but not least, though, we have the Hierophant Arcana, who is yet again our legal guardian for this year. So Jiro Sakura, who seems like a nice dad/grandpa. I don't know how old he is supposed to be. At first, he seems like super nice. He's asking us, to do the dishes and asking what we named Morgana. But then suddenly he shifts gears like 100% and gives his views on society, and even goes to say something along the lines of, to keep the amount of idiots down, we need to wipe them out as they come up. Okay. The context of this conversation isn't really clear, but dang, man, this guy's either really stern or has some really cynical views on like society or something. But in any case, one last thing I really want to point out is that his last name is the same as our navigator Futaba. There's no details currently yet on their relation, but maybe it's like his granddaughter or something. I don't really know, but it just seems kind of a bit odd. But in any case, we now know 3 of the Arcanas for our cooperation characters in Persona 5. Now, some have speculated that our party members will not be making a return as social links in P4, as on the official Atlus website, the Magician and High Priestess Arcanas have not been revealed yet. But honestly, guys, just wait a little while. I'm not confirming or denying the fact that Ryuji might not be a social link character. I guess I'm calling it that. Just like how Junpei wasn't in Persona 3. All I'm saying is Atlus themselves have not confirmed it or denied it yet, so don't jump to conclusions. But yes, guys, that pretty much sums up all of the info we got from E3. I am honestly a bit bummed out. I was wrong, and Persona 5 wasn't really shown off that much at E3, but it makes sense given it was a North American convention and all. But there is a new announcement on the way for Japan, and that is, on July 19th, the Phantom Thieves will be striking again and raiding an art museum in Japan. Not really, it's kind of just where they're going to show off a demo, apparently. It's still not known if this will be a publicly accessible demo for fans or if it's just media, but either way, we're most likely going to get some news there, so that's going to be really exciting. Will it be PV5? I don't really know. I don't think they actually are going to show off any more trailers, given that this one already showed off so much content, but hey, we'll see. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope it was at least either entertaining or informative. I do know that I was a little bit late to the news since I did come down with a very serious illness, but if this is the first video that you've seen from me, make sure you subscribe as I will be making a lot more Persona videos in the days to come. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you're as excited for Persona 5 as I am, and see you in the next video. Bye.